What's up? What's up? What's up? It's that time of the show where we kind of give a shout out to our sponsors. The sponsor today is Anchor. Anchor is everything you need to create your own podcast. You can use Anchor to distribute your show. They'll kind of get it out for you. And all you have to do is do it from your cell phone or your microphone, however you want to do it. But if you want to get your voice out there, if you want to talk to the people, there's no better place to do it than Anchor. So download the app Anchor or go to their website, anchor.com. It'll distribute your podcast on all platforms. So again, Anchor. Hey, what up? It's your boy Timmy B live from the West Coast with You Can't Play Boxing podcast. So, man, diving in, it's been a couple weeks, but we got this episode. What we're going to dive into is that Pernell Whitaker, Oscar De La Hoya fight from 1997. Very controversial. Some people had Pernell Whitaker winning. Some people had Oscar winning. Some people had it a draw. I kind of tell you where I kind of fall in that. But before we kind of get into that, I was kind of listening to some of the first episodes, and we kind of most of the times we kind of just dive into what we doing. But I want to take some time to kind of like just talk about some other topics. Now, don't get me wrong, this is going to stay a boxing podcast, but let's just chop it up a little bit about some other things going on, in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Biggest thing that's going on sports-wise is that the NBA playoffs, man. Last Sunday, man, we had some awesome games. I know, like, if you like me, you guys caught it that game 7 between Toronto and Philadelphia, man. That last few minutes was awesome. The game period was awesome. It reminded me of like some of the Eastern Conference games, from back in the day. Back in, we had the Heat and the Knicks and the Bulls and the Knicks and, a 92-90 game. That takes you back a little bit. Of course, the humongous shot at the end that Kawhi hit, man. That's if you look at that shot, man, and how it bounced up on the rim like that, that's kind of like some Teen Wolf type shit, where somebody shoot a shot and then it hit on the rim 4 times. The actor is like bending down on the court, waiting for it to go in, and then it go in, and then the whole crowd go crazy. I mean, that was like straight from Hollywood, man. But, Toronto, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They're going to play Milwaukee. Matter of fact, they had game 1 last night where Milwaukee won, came back and won at the end, kind of dominated the last few minutes. Over in the Western Conference, we got Golden State and we got Portland. Of course, everybody expect Golden State to win that, including me. So my predictions is real short. I give predictions on everything. I think I know everything. but my predictions with this, with the NBA finals and the NBA playoffs, I think Toronto going to pull it off. I think Toronto's going to pull it off in 7. And I think Golden State is going to win in, I go Golden State in 5 as far as beating. I like Dame and I like CJ McCollum, but I think Golden State is going to win in 5. If Portland pushes it to 6, I think that's a win for them, but Golden State should win in 5, my prediction. And, we'll kind of go over my NBA. We'll see if I'm right as far as my predictions in upcoming episodes, and I kind of go over my NBA Finals predictions coming up a little later too. Yeah, I use my mobile. So, now we got that out the way. What we're going to kind of do, we're going to talk about the Pernell Whitaker, Oscar De La Hoya fight. We're going to do that in the next segment. So, until then, take a quick break. All right, we back with You Can't Play Boxing podcast. It's your boy Timmy B. So, this segment, what we're going to do is dive into this Pernell Whitaker, Oscar De La Hoya fight from back in 1997. Very controversial fight. Some people had it all over the place. Before we get into it, though, let me kind of go over some of the history with that fight. The fight took place, April 12th, 1997. In Las Vegas. It was for the lineal welterweight champions. At that time, Pernell Whitaker had lost one time. He was 33 years old. Oscar De La Hoya, he was 24 years old and he was undefeated. De La Hoya by that point had already beat Julio Cesar Chavez. Whitaker fought Chavez and he lost. I mean, he had a draw that one time, So, tail of the tape, Whitaker, he's always been a short fighter. He was 5'6". De La Hoya had the height advantage of being 5'10". Whitaker, he's a southpaw. De La Hoya, he fights, right-handed. So it was a fight that was kind of built up for a long time. De La Hoya, they were supposed to fight like earlier in the year, but they both had to beat their mandatory. So De La Hoya beat his mandatory. He had to fight, what's the dude name? Miguel Angel Gonzalez. He beat him really pretty easily. Whitaker, he had to fight Hurtado, and man, Hurtado was giving Whitaker the business like in a fight. I mean, Hurtado had like 2 knockdowns, and he was ahead on all the scorecards until the 11th round when Whitaker, started hitting him with some shots, and the referee stopped the fight. And Whitaker got the TKO. But he struggled a little bit with Hurtado, so a lot of people felt that Whitaker was over the hill, and De La Hoya was going to, really probably knock him out. Some people felt because he looked rusty on the last fight. So, diving into the fight took place in Las Vegas. First round, it was the round was kind of like just filling each other out. I kind of gave that round to De La Hoya. I gave the second round to De La Hoya too. And really the first 4 rounds, Whitaker didn't do a lot to really press the momentum in that fight. He really was kind of like just on autopilot, and I think that was a mistake because he allowed De La Hoya to kind of build up momentum. For me, around round 5, Whitaker got his first round. And then the next 2 rounds, the next 3 rounds, Whitaker was kind of taking control of the fight once he started to see, okay, I know what De La Hoya got. I'm going to start taking control. So really after the first 6 rounds, I had a De La Hoya 58, Whitaker 58, Whitaker 56. Around 7, I had to fight De La Hoya 67, Whitaker 66. So De La Hoya won 4 rounds, then Whitaker won 3 as far as the 7th round. Now, in the 8th round, to me, that was a turning point. De La Hoya rebounded, and I gave him that round. So he up 5-3. And I think the biggest thing, too, is if you watch that fight, after round 8, Ronnie Shields, who's still training right now out of Houston, he was a fighter. He was in Whitaker's corner at the time. He told him, hey, bro, you losing this fight. And the very next round, round 9, Whitaker caught De La Hoya with a counterpunch and knocked him to the canvas. It was a very short counterpunch, but he did some of that veteran thing to trying to get that fight, going. So he knocked him down at the time. And with that knockdown, on my card, it was an even fight after 9 rounds. So Whitaker, he's always been a defensive fighter. He's always pretty smart. He knows his way around the ring. So De La Hoya was kind of like he was doing rookie mistakes, being that he's only 24 years old, and Whitaker been a veteran, and they're both Olympic pedigree, both Olympic gold medalists. So, for Whitaker to have that knockdown and to know what to do, it was kind of like the teacher showing the student, hey, hey, bro, you don't got me. I know what to do in this ring. So going into the last 3 rounds, the fight was up for grabs in my opinion, and they were close rounds. Round 10, I gave that to De La Hoya, no problem. Round 11 was like the closest round. I gave that one to Whitaker, but I can see how you can possibly get a De La Hoya. I think round 11 kind of tells a little bit where you see the fight a little bit. So even after 11 rounds, being that I gave the 11 rounds to Whitaker, I had to fight 104. So it comes down to the 12th round. Whoever wins the 12th round wins the fight on my card. Going into that 12th round, Whitaker did not fight with a sense of urgency. Anytime Whitaker fought with a sense of urgency, he has the skills, he had the ring showmanship. He could have beat De La Hoya, not easily, but he could have made it easier on himself. But in round 12, he did not fight with the sense of urgency to beat De La Hoya. And I think by him taking his foot off the pedal a little bit, I think De La Hoya won that 12th round. And I had to fight 114, 113 with Oscar De La Hoya winning the fight. Going also the punch stats, Whitaker landed more jabs in the fight. De La Hoya landed more power punches. It's really a fight that Whitaker could have made himself a lot easier fight, but he chose not to for whatever reason. And we know subsequently on, he had little troubles with cocaine or whatever. So, he only fought one more time after that when he lost to Trinidad in 1999 because he was suspended a couple years due to this whole cocaine issue and problem and drug rehab he had. But Sweet Pea has always been one of the best fighters. He's one of my favorite fighters. So, before I even looked at the fight again, I always thought that they robbed Sweet Pea, to be truthful. But, when I reviewed it and looked at it and analyzed it, I think Sweet Pea he definitely, when he turned it on, he had more skills and he outclassed De La Hoya. But I think De La Hoya, he didn't do enough. I think Sweet Pea didn't do enough in the rounds he took off. And he gave De La Hoya a chance to kind of make this a fight more than it probably should have been based on where they were as far as skill-wise in their career. After the fight, of course, Sweet Pea wanted a rematch. De La Hoya was like, I'll give him a rematch anytime. But Bob Arum, who's the promoter of both of them, he was promoter definitely of Sweet Pea. of De La Hoya at the time. I don't know about Sweet Pea at the time. But Bob Arum was like, no, this is not good business. It's not good business. He was protecting, Oscar De La Hoya, which I understand, It was a good fight. And I think, it was a good fight against, two future Hall of Famers. So, what more can you ask for? So what we going, you got my analysis with that. What I'm going to do after this, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk about what's upcoming, because we got some podcasts upcoming in the next week. And also we'll kind of go over some other things. So hold on for a second. Be back in the flash. All right, we back. You Can't Play Boxing podcast. So we're about to wrap up this episode. But before we go into wrapping up the episode, want to let you guys know you can check us out on Instagram at the letter U Can't Play Boxing on Instagram. That's UCANT Play Boxing on Instagram. Check us out there. Upcoming this weekend, we got a big fight. We got Deontay Wilder versus Dominic Brazil heavyweight fight. We're going to do some of the preview of the fight. Episode will drop tomorrow. That's on Friday. Then on Sunday, we're going to recap the fight. So, check us out this weekend. We got 2 episodes coming up. Then next week, we will have another classic fight rewind. And the fight we're going to look at that's controversial is going to be Jermaine Taylor versus Winky Wright. That fight from a few years ago in the early 2000s. I think that was 2004 or 2003. But, that was a controversial fight. A lot of people had that fight a draw. Some people had that fight as Winky Wright winning. Some people had it as Jermaine Taylor winning, But what we're going to do, we're going to kind of go over that fight. And in the meantime, you can tell me what you thought, who you thought won the De La Hoya fight, who you thought won the Winky Wright and Jermaine Taylor fight. So because this is community, man. You can't play boxing. We're a community just dedicated to boxing, dedicated to kind of going over the sport and treating it and respecting it. Because a lot of times you got some of these writers who don't respect the sport. And these fighters put themselves on the line, man. They train hard. They're away from their families. They're putting their life on the line anytime they go into that ring. Because nobody go into boxing and say, "Oh, I'm going to go half heart." Like most times, you got to, you can't play with it. So this is something we take seriously, and we respect the fighters who go in that ring. And just for the record, that Jermaine Taylor versus Winky Wright fight was actually in 2006. So we're gonna rewind and kind of recap that fight. I'll kind of tell you how I scored the fight. So, until next time, man, tune in, tap in. We got a couple episodes this weekend with the whole Deontay Wilder versus Dominic Brazil. And then, of course, next week we got the Jermaine Taylor, Winky Wright recap. So until next time, man, tap in with us. And remember, man, you can't play boxing.